I'm going to have you, I'm going to ask you, it's a very critical question, being that you mentioned us, our specific tribe here in America. And that is, how important, based on our economic plight, or lack thereof, is the acquisition of land?
Oh, it's critically important.
And why?
If you don't have land, you don't have a leg to stand on or a place to stand on. And remember, all of the great economic value that's been added in this country, and actually, I was just looking at it, I was just reading a book about this. If you look from 1700 to about 1850, there's a huge increase in white wealth. Well, all of that was driven off of the acquisition of the land that we're not now on.
Right.
And the white economists can't figure it out. And they say, oh, well, it must be because the Americans are so productive. It's none of that. All it is the land that they stole, pretty much.
Right.
Putting that into production and putting that into use. So what we're seeing is a lot of people, let's say you want to put a Starbucks up in a poor black neighborhood in Southeast. What some people are beginning to do now is they're crowdfunding that. They're buying a building to put the Starbucks in. They're creating a company whose asset is that real estate, is that building. And then they're putting in the Starbucks or the other franchise locations in that building and offering people an opportunity to invest in that company $100 at a time, $50 at a time, that sort of thing.
What about you take those 2 or 3 pieces we just discussed, and then we're talking about re-education of our children? Because where we are right now, in my humble opinion, is our children is not going to get this if this information is not given to them separate from everything else they have to deal with.
Well, my next book is actually on that. So one of the things I say is that, remember, Motown was love music. It was straight up love music, and it was powerful. It captured the world. Death Row Records is hate music.
Right.
So they basically were able to turn you from a love music, love mentality to a hate one. And the results are obvious. The results are absolutely clear. So that's what gets in the way of this transfer of knowledge to this young generation. On the one hand. On the other hand, there is a certain cadre, Black Lives Matter, that sort of thing, which is kind of bubbling up, that understands the need to have this education to be able to capture assets, real estate, land in particular, But the problem there is that, and I was just at another Black Lives Matter meeting in Southeast, and I walk in, and it's like 16 white people, there. And this was supposed to be a Black Lives Matter organizational meeting in Southeast. Well, I said, nothing wrong with that. It was just a little surprising to me, So part of the issue is you have to understand the way that these systems work and the way the information gets disseminated. And once you identify a powerful movement, how it's controlled by the powers that be, how it's co-opted by the powers that be. That's what happened with the Occupy Wall Street.
Right.
Which was very powerful. Same thing, and part of what happened there was they saw what happened in Syria, in Libya, in Egypt, where people use Facebook, Twitter, all of these social media tools to really capture the government. That's what they did. So they put, and this is what Edward Snowden was complaining about. He said, listen, these tools work like a charm. You can actually get to the people and they will actually make changes. The big government agencies saw that and they said, holy, we better capture it. And what you do is you vacuum up all of that information, all that data. You put it on a database somewhere. So that if you start a movement, I can look at your Facebook page and see exactly who you're connected to, in what way, in what shape, and what form. This is why...
Are you on social media?
I am. I'm all over.
So you can pull up your phone right now and pull up the Do For Self Academy.
Okay.
And you'll see my movement.
Okay.
Because the next question I'm going to get to is entrepreneurship for young people. We are doing I wouldn't say crowdfunding, but I've been doing a fundraiser for probably about 3 or 4 months, maybe 6 months, trying to get some energy behind these teenagers coming in, learning some entrepreneurship skills. It's been like... I wouldn't say pulling teeth probably too easy. You understand what I'm saying? So what has happened based on all those things you've discussed, in my opinion, is that we've produced a non-productive, lazy, intelligent child.
Right.
They're intelligent, from the perspective of, based on what we're looking at now, but they're unintelligent in the way of what's coming down the pipe. So if we're not able to get them off somewhere into little small, organized communities. That's where the land comes in at.
Well, and I hope Bill Jackson, our cousin Bill Jackson, comes up, because he's been working on this for about 30, 40 years.
Okay.
And he's done a lot of stuff specifically on this issue, specifically. Done a lot of writing, that sort of stuff in this area. It's tough, mainly because of the distractions of technology. The fact that the attention span has really collapsed. I mean, you don't have that long to be able to capture the imagination and intelligence of youth. It's much
right.
And what happens is, 5 years down the road, you realize there's a lot of stuff that you missed out on if you're the youth.
Yeah.
But we're beginning to see
microwave intelligence.
Microwave intelligence. That's a good way to put it.
Microwave intelligence.
We're beginning to see some turn.
You can't take shortcuts. And so what has happened is these teenagers. I've been working with teenagers now for 25 years, every day, and the shortcuts that are available to them actually makes them worse, in my opinion.
I agree.
Because
that's what all the data shows.
They don't use this technology to go read a book. They won't use this technology to go look up words, to be able to speak clearly, to be able to learn how to dress, and all of those things that we know are necessary for them to develop the culture and the wherewithal to go out and be refined and to be able to capture the market for what they want to do.
It's all about consuming entertainment and entertainment-related products, games, the videos, which have, as I mentioned, this negative hate messaging in it, and not using it for the educational side yet. Now, I'm optimistic because I do see some movement toward the educational piece, especially on the part of, like I say, Black Lives Matter and some of these young activists. The problem is that even those guys, because they are so used to this technology, they think they have wisdom, and they don't. What they have is internet access.
Right, they have internet access, right.
Wisdom, the defining characteristic of wisdom is it takes time.
Right.
You can't get wisdom overnight. It is a 30-year, 40-year type of process. They don't quite get that yet. Most of them don't.
So, with that being said, would you agree or disagree, because it takes that much time, and the plight of our particular condition and the posture of our young people, we have to do something drastically different. You take those three things that you just said, and if we don't do anything different, it's not going to happen. So we have to find a way to be able to speak their language, to go in there kind of like undercover, as you will, covert, and go in and change it some kind of way. Some kind of way we have to go in there and change the language.
Well, I think the majority culture is doing that for us, to tell you the absolute truth. When you see things like this, the young man who got shot in Chicago, and those types of remember, that's new technology. We've been saying for 150 years that this stuff was going on.
True.
And people always ignored it because you didn't have the video. Now you got the actual, you can't argue with the video. So what's happening is there's a lot of growing understanding among the youth. It's tough, and it's not a panacea, and it's easily distracted, easily misdirected.
My issue on that, my take on that is, we've been so brainwashed and so numb to our own condition that it doesn't matter. And we will fight and kick and march, but we won't fight, kick, and march when it comes to our own situations internally. So we take these things of the shooting and the beating and the killings, and we continue to cry and beg and moan and march and boycott, but we still won't do the things that are necessary to bring about a sincere and a permanent change. So
I would agree with that. I mean, the other way that I look at that is that's just shows the remarkable resiliency of our community, right? Nobody else would have been able to put up with 400 years of this stuff and still be here.
That's true.
But we have. It's getting close to a critical time, though, as you say. But I think you can use that to move forward.
Okay. Well, I'd like for you and I to exchange information.
I've got my backpack. I'll make sure that is.
Good enough. Appreciate you.
Okay.
All right.